Okay, thank you very much. So I'd like to call Borough Council meeting for Tuesday, July 16th, 2024 to order. Notice of this meeting was published in the official newspapers and prominently posted in Borough Hall and filed with the municipal clerk in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Chief Moran, would you be so kind?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief. Melissa, can we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Mayor Koth.
Here.
Mr. Carnaval.
Here.
Mr. Staff.
Here.
Mr. Tajian.
Here.
Mr. Kern.
Here.
Mr. Gullo.
Here.
Ms. Hara is absent.
Okay, first thing on the agenda tonight, in order of business, is, again, one of my favorite things. I think this is the third time so far this year I've gotten to do this. Swearing of a new firefighter, Tomas Kellerman. Ted, would you like to join me down at the podium and with the chief and Tomas as we administer him his oath? You have somebody that wants to hold the Bible. Why don't we do it up here, so... Can go. Why don't we go right in front of the tables this way? You're poised nicely for the TV shot, Tomas. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
All right. So you raise your right hand, please. I,
I,
Tomas Kellerman Jr.,
Tomas Kellerman Jr.,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of New Jersey,
and the state of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
and to the government established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all of the duties of the office of
all of the duties of the office of
firefighter with the Oradell Fire Department,
firefighter with the Oradell Fire Department,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Tomas, congratulations. I'll get a picture and then you will sign that. Get it ready for you, Paul. Get in there. One more this way. All right, great.
Yeah, the top. I turn it off. Take it off. Yeah.
That's three.
See how he does. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Turned it off. I'll state it again, Melissa, since my microphone was off. Will you please let the record reflect that Ms. Hara has arrived?
Yes, I have.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Gullo. Okay, discussion items. First up, we have, should have been in everybody's packet, the Borough of Montvale has been reaching out to municipalities across the state looking to form a coalition of boroughs, townships, cities, whomever feels that they would be just in participating, challenging the state's recently approved affordable housing legislation, which we've talked about at numerous meetings post this. So Mayor Gasali is taking the lead on this and has reached out to many towns. I think he has about 45 committed so far, and is asking us if we would like to join the coalition. In summary, there are a number of urban aid communities that are not required to have any affordable housing obligation whatsoever. One of them you might find interestingly being Hoboken. So they would like to challenge this under Constitution. I believe it's the 13th Amendment. And they are asking for any town who wants to participate to contribute as part of their participation $10,000 for 2024 and $10,000 in 2025. They're hoping to get 60 or so municipalities at a minimum to join before starting this venture. So I wanted to bring that up for discussion tonight and see how the council felt about that. I believe we do have a resolution prepared in the event the council would like to act, authorizing the borough to participate. So I'll open it up to the council for discussion at this
Mayor.
time. Yes, John.
Mayor, I'd strongly recommend that we go ahead and move towards joining Montville in this opportunity with the affordable housing element in mind.
Okay.
Agree.
Do we know how many towns are already committed?
I believe it's in the mid-40s right now.
Okay.
They're hoping to hit a minimum of 60.
Okay. So, Siobhan, you're our guest speaker this evening, but would love to give you an opportunity to opine on this, just if you have any other additional information. Not that you're well versed in it, but just would love your opinion.
So just in full disclosure before Siobhan speaks is that Huntington Bailey also represents the borough of Montvale. I believe is taking the lead in searching for the attorneys to pursue this case at the federal level. Go ahead,
Yes,
Siobhan.
I agree. That's what
Okay.
I was going to mention. But I will say, I was at the Township of Washington last night, and they voted to join the coalition
Okay.
themselves.
Thank you.
Yeah, Councilman Gullo, I have spoken with Mayor Gasali about this on numerous occasions. I believe most, if not all, of the Pascack Valley municipalities are joining and have committed already. If not, they will be doing so at their next upcoming meeting.
Yeah, I'm supportive. Absolutely.
You basically answered my question by saying I wanted to know of the 45, how many of them were Bergen County?
A lot.
Because I think we get hit the hardest.
Excuse me, gentlemen, if you talk right into your microphones, I could hear you. When you turn sideways, I lose the sound. I'm awfully sorry.
No problem.
Thank you.
So my biggest concern was of the 45, how many of them were Bergen County? And I think you've answered the question because as a generalization, I think Bergen County gets hit the hardest with these regulations and it puts the most duress on us. So for that, I would definitely be supportive of the town joining in.
Steve, Maggie, any opinions?
Yeah, I'm supportive because the primary argument is equal distribution and responsibility. The state always talks about the fact that there is a significant lack of affordable housing. Well, to cut out X number of towns to not even be contributors doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm very supportive of this initiative.
So, Siobhan, one question. Is there, or does the mayor of Montvale, could he provide us with the list of towns that are currently not included in the fair share housing? Or is that publicly known?
So he has, I believe, some of it may be in the letter.
I didn't see it in the letter, but I could have missed it.
62 towns in the state.
Okay. Do we know
No
the-
state mandate for affordable housing.
Right, but do we know those names? I'm just curious.
Jersey City, Hoboken, list goes on.
Okay.
It's a public list.
Yep.
Right.
Well, we can get that and share that with the council.
Yeah, I just think it'd be helpful to have some perspective on it.
Absolutely. Ms. Harrer, any comments, questions?
No, I think it's terrific. And I don't understand why a town like Hoboken wouldn't have to have affordable housing. I don't understand the thinking behind it. So this is a wonderful outreach.
Thank you. Just to piggyback on Council President Carnival's comment. This isn't about opposing the need for affordable housing. This is opposing the method in which the state is forcing municipalities to comply with. So we're all very much for providing adequate affordable housing, but we feel, and this suit basically is primarily based upon the method upon which the state has chosen to force municipalities to comply. So that being said, Resolution 190 is on the consent agenda, just so everybody is aware when the time comes for that.
Ironically, I was just in Hoboken looking for an apartment for a friend of mine. Talk about a town that
Was
needs
it affordable?
affordable housing. It's shocking.
Okay. Next item on the discussion list is valet loading zone ordinance. I don't know if the borough attorney wants to quickly just give us an update on the draft that's been prepared. I believe there was an email that went around today with the most recent update to that ordinance.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So our office has prepared two ordinances that speak to this issue. The first of which is a proposed ordinance establishing rules and regulations for valet parking. This would put in motion, and parenthetically, the borough does not currently have a valet parking ordinance in its code. So this would put in effect a licensing scheme that would require those entities that wanted to participate and provide valet parking to make application for a license. There would be insurance requirements. The applicants would need to show what routes they intend to pursue, et cetera. And it would also require the applicants to comply with the second proposed ordinance that goes to this issue, and that is establishing a schedule of loading zones within the borough. There's currently a provision for that, but the actual schedule designating zones is reserved. It's basically a placeholder. So we have proposed a kind of a bare bones ordinance for the council's review, and we would need some input on the precise locations, the dimensions, perhaps information if the council wants to consider limiting the hours of operation, restricting the areas to loading zones, maybe for certain hours being designated solely for deliveries, other hours more appropriately for onloading and offloading vehicles and passengers within vehicles for those businesses. So that type of input. As to the specifics for the locations and the side of the street and the dimensions, I would just refer the council to your current ordinance for bus stops for that type of information and what we're thinking of in terms of a similar schedule that would be appended. Name of the street, side, east-west, location, south from Harrison for 120 feet. So those are the two ordinances in a nutshell, and I can answer any further questions that you have.
Just to add a little bit to that, I believe Sergeant Pressburger spoke with the Borough Attorney's Office earlier today and did provide some of that data as far as the distances from the nearest cross street, establishing various zones. I believe there may have been 3 that were identified throughout the corridor between, I want to say, probably New Milford Avenue and Oradell Avenue. And again, that's to the establishment of loading zones, which can be for goods and or drop-off of persons. Separately, the ordinance that the Borough Attorney referenced deals with rules, regulations, and the licensing of valet operators, which allows for it. They have to fill out an application, come before the borough, become approved, and then they're subject to rules and regulations established therein and set by the police department as well for their safe operation. Any questions on those?
Yeah, any regulations or any permission we need from the county on this?
I would imagine if it's a county road, certainly. Beyond that, I'm not aware of any requirement for that, but we can check that, to double check that.
Yeah, so typically if we move a bus stop on a county road per se, we also have to send to the county for approval as well. I would imagine that the same practice would follow suit in this instance.
Perfect. As long as we cross our T's, dot our I's.
A quick question: have we determined a fee for this?
I don't have the latest draft in front of me, but yes, there would be a fee for registration of valet operators.
Standard fee. I assume that's reasonable and customary.
There is provision for a fee. It's just blank. That's up to the council to let us know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So one question related to the liability or obligation. There's the valet license company that's applying for the license. Is that the restaurant or place of business, or are those two separate?
Well, the application for license is for the applicant, the valet applicant.
Okay.
So whatever
So
arrangement.
it's tied to the business is my question, in essence.
I suppose. I mean, I guess it depends upon whatever arrangements. I assume if they want to apply for the license and they're going to take the time to do that and pay the fee, they're going to have had those discussions and have a separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just, I'm new to me. I'm
So
just curious.
When you say business, you mean the valet business or
Well, that's my point.
the business
So,
they're serving?
give the example, or as the restaurant, they hired a third party to issue or to administer the valet. Are they both applying, or is it just the valet company?
I believe it's the valet company
Yes. Yeah.
who is then licensed to perform that service anywhere it's approved within the borough.
Okay.
And carries the insurance.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And is required to follow the rules and regulations subject to the enforcement of the police department.
No, that's good. That's just good transparency to understand who owns what of the process.
So, Siobhan, for the loading zone ordinance, I didn't have a chance to read the draft yet. Does it contemplate if we do put in hours of use for loading and whatnot during the off hours? Is it available for parking, or it just becomes a no parking area?
Well, as I meant. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think the designated loading zone's 24 hours.
Okay. And there might be restrictions as to when loading activity can take place, is what.
I think the way it was drafted, I could be wrong because there have been a few drafts circulating, was that there was no hours of operation. It was a loading zone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay.
Mayor, if I may just expand upon what you're saying, the draft that's in front of me, and I believe that's been circulated, would welcome feedback if there's anything that the council would like to add to that issue. We would of course, take the direction and add that.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I don't believe I've received that draft. So, Melissa, could you make sure that you send me a copy? Sure. Thank you so much.
So I would ask going forward that everybody take a few minutes to look at either of these ordinances, or both of them, actually. And please get any feedback to Council President Carnival as the chair of the ordinance committee so that we can work with the attorney's office to get them prepared for an introduction if we're in agreement for our August meeting. Okay. Next on the agenda is OK Foundation Fire Department 5K event date. So we are in receipt of a communication from the OK Foundation, the fire department, who previously had a date held as of October 12th, 2024, rain or shine, for the 5K event. They would like to change that date. They're recommending Sunday, October 13th. Reason for that change is the 12th, I believe, is Yom Kippur, and they want to respect that holiday. I've spoken with one of the organizers regarding this. I've asked if they've contemplated other Saturday dates, as this is a very early morning event, and I don't know if the residents around Memorial on a Sunday morning would be appreciative to Councilman Gullo's emceeing the start of the race as well as the DJ and everything else at such an early hour. Sunday certainly is an opportunity. I believe there are some concerns with conflicts with other races. I know the following week is the Paramus Run. Last I spoke with Jeff Bernard, who's organized this in the past, he was looking into October 5th. So absent, any solid commitment on whether or not that's possible, I would ask the council for their opinion on Saturday versus a Sunday, how they feel about that. Should we encourage trying to find a Saturday date, or do everybody find the Sunday date acceptable as requested?
I think the Saturday would be a good idea if it's possible, but if it's not, then I'd go along with a Sunday.
We do a Saturday with a rain date on that Sunday.
I think a Sunday would be a better day. A better day. Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
I'm fine with either day. I think a Saturday is just better from a convenience standpoint. But if they can't find a convenient Saturday, then I think a Sunday would be fine.
Right. So we still have to check with rec schedules for fall sports and other things to find out how this might impact anything that's been committed and whether or not it is able to be moved. So if the council's comfortable and they don't have any further questions, I'll double back with Jeff tomorrow, and we can firm this up via the business administrator to the council and communicating via email about whether or not we have an option other than October 13th, which is a Sunday. Okay. Next, so I've added this, Oradell's, for some that may not be aware, I hope most would be, although the world of women's gymnastics is a very small world in sports to some. It is very big to others. So we have a young woman by the name of Hesley Rivera, who grew up in Oradell, now currently resides in Texas, where she trains, who is, I believe, one of the youngest, if not the youngest member of this year's Olympic team to compete in women's gymnastics at the 2024 Olympics in Paris. I, on behalf, through my better half, my wife, have been in contact with her dad to ask them, whether or not they do travel back to the area at times. So we're having some discussions with them about, what the borough may want to do, and I wanted to have this discussion as a council, solicit ideas and thoughts about what you all may have. We have a thought, and I wanted to throw out is sort of an initial idea. I've spoken with Megan Bozios at OPS, and Hesley did attend OPS while she was here, I think through grade 3, hosting a watch party in the auditorium for anybody that might want to attend to cheer her on. I believe that is on, forgive me for a minute, I think it's the 30th. Where are all my papers? Sorry, way too many papers today.
July 30th.
I believe. Give me 1 second here. July 30th, which is a Tuesday at 12:15, which is during the lunch hour. Seems very odd for an event. However, we are 6 hours behind Paris, so it would be 6:15 there. If the council has no objection, I would like to work with the school to organize, and perhaps maybe we can look to special events or others if they care to join. Organize something that is as simple as a watch party there to root her on, hoping for the best for her, and if depending upon how she performs, maybe there's further discussions on what we might do to recognize her as Oradell's first Olympian. We have a number of firsts from town, so certainly this is an honor to have her competing at the Olympics in Paris this summer. I'd welcome any thoughts, suggestions, or...
It sounds like a good idea, and I think regardless of the outcome, just the fact that she's competing, she should be recognized if we're able to when they are in the area.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I would second
she is
that.
the youngest athlete on the entire team.
Yeah.
Celebrating her for competing, not how she does, but just the fact that she got there. Is
Yeah, I mean, look, it's an opportunity that's so few for so many young athletes that start in this, and gymnastics is not an easy sport by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, wonderful.
So we wish her all the luck in the world, and we'll be rooting for her. And I hope that we're able to have a further discussion because of her success at our next meeting. So I'll follow up, Ed and I will follow up with Oradell Public on organizing that. Okay. Any old business to discuss?
Mayor, I have an item. I don't want to step on Councilman Tashian's report, but I did want to bring up the library and just get an update on where things stand. And Roger, if you're going to be covering it in your report, we can discuss it then. But I'm just interested
we
from
might as well discuss it here.
Okay, I'm just interested from a timing standpoint. How is the library functioning? I know they're not open for business, but are we supporting them in any way to kind of maintain some of their operations while they wait for the building to be reopened? So I just wanted to get an understanding of how we're working with the library to support them during this unexpected time.
Go ahead, yeah. So we actually, I called for a meeting this morning about this, at which Councilman Tashian and I were in attendance with our professionals and our risk manager. So Roger, go ahead.
Sure. So we met today, and we got an idea of where the project is. The most important thing was everything hinged on getting test results back for some environmental tests that were done. The good news is that they did come back, and they were all negative. So the reconstruction can commence. That being said, we have 2 critical target dates we're shooting for. August 5th is the day that we're looking for employees to be able to return into the building. And September 1 would be the day that we're targeting for reopening back to the public.
What was that second date, Roger?
September 1st.
September 1st, okay.
Okay. To add to that, I did have one request, which is a request from the library, is if they could get a little corner or something where they can do their payroll and processing, whether it's in the basement or in the multipurpose room or the senior center. They're looking for some sort of space where they can have business operations continuing. So I would ask Ed, if you wouldn't mind, if we could try to accommodate them for the next, well, I'll call it 3 weeks, just so that they can continue their practices. So, but that's kind of the overview of where we stand on the library. I mean, if anybody wants the nitty details, they can speak to me afterwards, but I think that in summary, that's where we are.
Okay, thank you.
So one thing I just wanted to add, because, I mean, it seems like restoration from a leak should be a simple process that should not take this long. The complicating factor was that when they set up a containment area to remove the materials and inspect what was behind them prior to restoring the area, it was discovered that there was some residual adhesive that was suspected may contain asbestos. The library was abated in 2006, and we had all the paperwork memorializing that abatement. However, this glue, by today's standards, does not meet 2006 standards for abatement. So this is in a very, very limited area. It's within the containment zone. It has not had any kind of a dramatic impact on the library whatsoever. However, the State Department of Health required over 30 tests be done of air quality, wipe samples, and other things to be sure, both inside and outside the containment area. And that's why employees were told that they could no longer report to the building while the testing was happening. Excuse me. So I believe they're going to look to encapsulate this glue by applying another material on top of it. It was overspray from a previous installation way back when. So I just want to be clear that that's really what has taken so long here, is dealing with the regulatory process to make sure this is a safe environment for our employees, to the library's employees to be in. And now that we've gotten the green light, as Roger reported, this should be happening more expeditiously in terms of getting them back in and getting the finishes restored.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other old business?
One quick item, Dave, if you can give an update for the PSC&G road repaving.
Sure. So concrete work is scheduled to begin, weather permitting, next week. I would envision them taking about a week to get that completed. Based on the information I've received to date, PSC&G is looking to get in there around the middle of August to do the paving over there. We don't have dates yet for the other phase of the work that's being taken place, and we're looking to get some of that taken care of the fall of this year.
And none of the streets are going to be disrupted near the school, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Well, Prospect has been disrupted.
Yeah, but is Prospect in this phase or the
No.
next
No.
phase? So it's in the next phase, so that's fine.
is doing is north of Oradell Avenue.
Okay.
Walthall area.
Perfect. Thank you.
So, Dave, along those lines, what's the situation with Summit Avenue? And have you started to look at the additional work that we said could potentially be done on Summit?
Sure. I know we've had discussions within the Capital Works Committee regarding that, so we're looking at possible things that can be done on Summit, whether we're doing curbing on all of the street or... Sorry.
Yeah.
I have to hit the little button, sorry. So we're looking into what can be done on the street right now as a global picture, as opposed to just those two localized properties that we had looked at.
Okay. And when do we feel like we'll have a decision going forward in terms of the scope of the work as far as curbing?
Sure. So I just have to get you guys a proposal, which I'll get to you guys in the next couple of weeks. And then we can get moving once we're authorized to move forward with that.
So I think the issue of curbing is going to be a council discussion. I asked Dave earlier if he can provide us a proposal to do a survey of Summit from Soldier Hill to Oradell Avenue, which will allow us to look sectionally at the topography and the hydrology. The concern is that curbing may have a negative impact on some properties that may be lower lying than the road. So in order to make that decision, we really need this information from Dave's firm so that he can show us what things look like in section. And then I think it's really up to us as a council to discuss philosophically, should we move ahead with the curbs or shouldn't we? And I think once we get the information, we'll be able to make that decision.
And that would include possibly partial curbing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, like the mayor said, we're going to look at all the different areas. There's certain areas, where some of the properties slope away from the street. Some are almost even with the street. So we have to look to see what potential impacts that could have on the properties as well. Obviously, we don't want to do the work and cause harm to the residents.
Okay.
Right. And there may be drainage work required. So the survey is really necessary to give us the full magnitude of the impact of what we decide.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other old business?
Yes, I was just wondering what's happening with the farmers market. Do we have any report or any advance on that?
So Laura has been helping shepherd a little bit of that interest, Maggie. We're kind of running up against just people's availability, not being available, without having a farmer as the anchor. It has definitely been more of a challenge, so we're rethinking how we would do it. We were thinking about moving to the 2 times a month. We came short because a lot of our resources were allocated towards July 3rd and 4th. So Laura's away this week, obviously on vacation, and one of the opportunities I'm going to sit down is we might just sit and establish a date. I'd say the last point is we've reached out, and while people have expressed interest, they haven't confirmed. So unless we have an application and the insurance and the requirements and essentially a check, we're not going to go and just plan for one person. And we have had interest, so I can't say that there aren't vendors that do want to participate. We're also obviously thinking about doing during the week, which is a change, but we're finding that one of the challenges that we saw last year in terms of participation is a lot of people went away on the weekends. So you certainly had a core group of attendees and patrons, but you didn't have, and the feedback we got from those vendors was, well, it's not really worth my time. So I'm going to sit down with Laura. Like I said, she was busy before she left and I was busy. We'll sit down and I'll bring something back to the council at next month's meeting.
Okay, terrific. I really support the idea of during the week, especially because everybody leaves here on the weekends.
Yeah, and the idea is to potentially, because we can't utilize that commuter lot, obviously during the week, because it's being utilized by different patrons for the Veteran Center and then those commuting. We're actually thinking about using Sherrod Park and that smaller parking lot under potential of like 3 to 7. People come off the train, make it, we can have Cheeto and other entertainment and make it a little bit more like festival-like, but still have the patrons.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Keep us informed.
I will.
Thank you.
Thanks, Maggie.
Any other old business? Does anybody have any new business?
One quick thing. The Environmental Committee has a bench that they would like to mark in Larry Bogert's name, and they'd like to put it on the pathway from Commander Black to DPAC. So there's kind of like a little resting area there. And do we need permission, or kind of just wanted some guidance as to how we can make that happen? Larry's wife is on board with it because Larry always used to walk that area. And what would we need to do?
So I would hope, so this is not a new thing that has come up before. I would hope before the next meeting, we could have for the council's discussion outline of licensure agreement for sponsorship of benches in memory of. In this instance, Larry certainly was somebody who was a stalwart of Oradell and was contributed at many council meetings specifically around the topic of cell towers. I fondly recall him speaking about. But with regard to I've run into this in my role as the county parks director with people decorating benches. How long is the naming for? Who has the obligation to replace once something reaches its useful life expectancy? Yep. So this is a policy we need to kind of just get hammered out. So when these things come up, and it's a great thing to do, it's a great way to remember somebody. It's just a transaction versus a council discussion. Yep. So I would hope by the next meeting we can have a draft of that for us all to discuss and hopefully get ready for approval.
That would be great.
Is this one of those Trek benches, though,
Yes.
that's coming to us already?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Correct. And as you guys recall, Larry was very instrumental in starting that program.
Yes.
And Mayor, would this be part of the naming and dedication of public properties and facilities ordinance that Bill is working on?
It could be incorporated in large. There may be just a requirement in this situation where there's a license agreement that's, part of that where somebody sponsors or pays for the bench.
It could be a tree, a bench.
John, just a quick question. What are we defining as a Trek bench?
Yeah, so it's a program that the Environmental Committee was working on where, the Trek Decking Company?
Trex.
Right.
Trex. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So they have a program where if you recycle a certain number of bags, they send you a plastic bench of recycled material.
Okay.
Yeah, and we received a number of those in the past.
Thank you. Any other new business? If not, I will mention.
Oh, I had one other thing too.
Go ahead, Roger.
So I received a letter request from Dave Salinas, who was requesting, and it's right along these lines of the naming rights, to name something in honor of their son. And I think it ties in with what we expect Phil to present to us. And so I think we should just note that that's a request that is out there.
I got the same correspondence.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that we can get this on the books at some point in the near future. Sorry, I have to get used to new microphones. I received the same request, and I'm hoping we can get this policy hammered out shortly so that, again, transactionally, we know how to respond to these things
I think it's a
when
great
they come up. One thing I wanted to give Mrs. Bailey the opportunity to is talk to the council about Resolution 24-192, which is to amend Resolution 24-230. I'm going to assume this is 23-232 for the purchase and sale agreement for Habitat for Humanity.
Yes, so this resolution is for the council's approval of a First Amendment to a December 2023 agreement that was entered into between the borough and Habitat for Humanity for the conveyance by the borough of property located, well, it's identified as Lot 29, Block 107. It's on Kinderkamack Road and near Rice Avenue. I'm not sure it has a designated street address, but in any event, when we looked at the agreement, when our firm looked at the agreement, we identified several areas of exposure for the borough, we engaged in negotiations with Habitat to address those and to work those out. One of those areas is the obligation, the absolute obligation of the borough to dedicate and pay to Humanities $25,000 toward its construction costs. We didn't see any provision in the borough's ordinance, the borough's budget, approved budget for this expenditure. We checked the approved spending plan and the amended spending plan that was passed at the time that this agreement was entered into. There was no provision for that expenditure. So we converted in the First Amendment that direct obligation to an obligation of the borough to make its best efforts to get approval, proper approval for that expenditure without an absolute obligation that it do so. Another area we saw exposure for the borough, again, along the same lines, was the payment or the waiver by the borough of all fees. Now, that could, usually when you see that in the affordable housing context in an agreement, that's limited to construction permit fees. The way it was drafted, in our view, it could have been read to include professional escrows, which can run very high, and other types of expenditures that an applicant for land use approvals generally covers. Those are not generally intended to be covered by the borough, but the permit fees, the cases say you should do what you can to encourage affordable housing, and this is one of the ways. So we limited that obligation. There's another section in there that seemed to require the borough to ensure that the property be taxed in a certain way, that it the borough afford this property a lower tax obligation in line with affordable, the affordable housing and the occupants, the intended occupants of the unit. Now, we can all get on board with that sentiment, but certainly making the borough obligated to do that under a contract didn't seem to us to comport with the statutory schemes that the borough has to contend with. I've seen it done by way of pilot agreement in another context, but as a direct obligation in a real estate contract, we were troubled by that. So we went ahead and amended it much in the same way as the $25,000 obligation to say that the borough would make best efforts to support any applications or efforts by Habitat who is interested in this. And again, it's understandable. You're trying to get affordable, homeowners into these units, and then you tax them at a rate that, assess that's not, realistic for them to afford. A laudable goal, but you can't make that a direct contract obligation of the borough. You've got to make it at best efforts and make whatever applications you need to do. To me, that's the tax assessor's purview, and they need to get what they need to get to properly do that. So that's been amended as well. I believe that covers it. We tightened up some of the reverter language in the event the deed restrictions to maintain it as an affordable unit for the period of time in order to get COA credit. We tightened up that language so that the borough can reclaim the property in the event those restrictions are violated. So that's in a nutshell what the First Amendment does. It sets a closing date of next Tuesday, assuming the borough approves the First Amendment.
I have two questions. One is, do you know what was done on the previous Habitat house further down by Jay's Pharmacy, the one around the corner? Do you know if that was protected in any way in terms of how it was going to be taxed?
Do you mean by way of the contract of sale there? And
yeah.
I don't. I'm not familiar with that transaction. I'm sorry.
Because I'd be very interested in what we did before with that. And also, my second question is, what was Habitat's reaction to this?
Very amenable. I think Habitat understands that in this context, when you have a private transaction, you can be tough and you can win the day, but they understand that everybody's on the same team and everyone wants the transaction to get done. And unless these amendments are made, it may be trouble for them down the line. So they were very amenable. They were very cooperative. So, yeah.
Because they're very hard-nosed and realistic. So I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
So do you feel like if we pass the resolution tonight, we can close by the 23rd?
I do, and that was one of the things, understandably it took a little time. They served a time of the essence notice for back in June, I believe, setting a hard date. I was able to take them off of that, set a closing date with a provision in here that they can, from that date of July 22nd, go forward and set a time of the essence from there. Reasonable time, we agree, would be 14 days. So even if we, don't get my office has the paperwork done. We just have to dust it off and get it executed. If we don't make the 23rd, there's a provision in there that, we have some flexibility.
Okay. And I read in the document that, this property would be counted against the borough's obligations. Did we need to specify the fourth round obligations? Because we didn't talk about which round of obligations we would receive credit for.
We don't need to. It could be either. If the borough feels it's more beneficial to amend its third round plan, I don't know that I'm not privy to that, but it certainly could do either.
By default, just count towards our fourth round?
It has to be included in the proposal and approved by way of settlement agreement. I can't imagine that this project would not get credit. We consulted with COA counsel for the borough on that very issue. They ran it by their contacts at Fair Share Housing. They were comfortable that this arrangement would yield credit to the borough. But it's a little cart before the horse, so you can't say, we don't have credit in either round going into this transaction. In all likelihood, it will count toward either round depending upon how the borough proceeds.
Okay.
Would it be possible to get the history, just for going forward, of what we did with the first Habitat house in terms of taxes? I just would like to know how consistent we are. I don't know how we find that out, but is it possible to get that information?
I think we can search for that agreement. I believe that was over 15 years ago, though. This was quite some time ago, and we're in a very different time from a real estate perspective and from what our obligations are. But we can try and search for that.
Thank you.
Nobody else has a comment. I want to make a statement. I want to thank you, Siobhan, and Bill, and the entire office for salvaging what is an excellent and admirable project from almost failure. This is a project that was rushed through in the wee hours of the council's last session of 2023, and was not a unanimous vote. to enter into agreement with Habitat for this, and that's a shame because it should have been. However, questions weren't answered, comments were not taken into consideration, and this was not given the due time and due diligence to avoid the situation, which fortunately your office was able to correct and protect the borough's interests while still allowing this project, which is an admirable and great project, to move forward. I think in a scenario where the borough is contributing the land as part of a partnership to do this, given the value of land and, you know, the burdens that our taxpayers face today to meet part of our affordable housing obligation is a great thing for the borough to do. It's not an easy thing to do because it comes at a cost. However, when we don't give things their true due diligence and we try and rush things along, we end up in a situation where the borough is at risk. And you named multiple things which have given us grave concern, and I'm again very thankful and appreciative that you guys were able to resolve positively with Habitat so that this project can move forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other new business before I move on to public comment? If not, I'll entertain a motion to open public comment to non-agenda items only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Mr. Hatsunis, you're on.
Good evening, Paul Hatsunis. Last year, around July, the mayor and council reached an agreement with River Edge and that the River Edge mayor and council would contribute to the upkeep of our recreation facilities that their residents also use ours. And it was a $10,000 annual agreement. And I'm wondering if anybody followed up on it.
I think it's a good question. We should have your answer, but we don't, unfortunately. So the administrator will look into that tomorrow and let us know.
Yeah, it was around this time, in July, that we got the money last year.
Jim, what I can tell you is we did collect 2 checks last year. We did collect last year $10,000.
Right.
Okay, as this year, I don't know if we've billed them yet. I'm pointing to our CFO, who happens to be in attendance.
Yeah. So Councilman Tashin was correct that we collected $10,000 from River Edge last year. I recall the agreement says, that they will make the payment in July. So yeah, we have to look into it. We have not received the $10,000 contribution from River Edge this year, but we can definitely look into that and send the bill out.
I think they want you to go to a microphone because people can't hear you.
Come on up.
Come up there. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, can I just speak from here? Okay. So yes, hello, am I on?
Just go to the podium.
Yeah, come on.
Yes, so Councilman Tashin was correct that we received $10,000 last year, 2023. I believe the agreement says that the River Edge will have to make the payment in July. I have not seen the $10,000 contribution from River Edge, but I can definitely mail out the invoice, the billing this week. Okay.
Thank you. That's a good answer.
Thank you. Microphones are complicated.
Okay. Now, on another topic, we are approaching midsummer, and I have not seen any of the water fountains that are needed in our parks repaired or installed. I believe we should have 4 of them done, and I'm hoping you can tell me later when you give your report if you want. I'm just bringing it up.
Yeah, I can just answer that right now, Paul. We're
Okay.
working on it. We have parts ordered. Unfortunately, it's not, there's no parts that we have right now to replace the water fountains that we can replace, but we are working on solutions for
The
those.
D-Pack that's broken?
Yeah.
You don't have the parts for that?
We ordered parts. I haven't heard anything back about.
Oh, it should have taken a long time. Anyway, Okay, well, I'll keep at it because I want those water fountains working for the kids, especially on hot days like we've been having, so nobody passes out from not having water. Okay, did we ever find out, here's another one for you, Jonathan. Did we ever find out what happened to the storage container that was purchased for $1,000 for the storage and transport of our styrofoam recycling program?
I'll get back to you on that one. I think we talked about it the other day. But I don't have all the notes, right?
We did.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
Styrofoam is not supposed to go in that container. There's another process for it down at the DPW. Right, Roger?
Yeah, so there are two swap sheds that are there. One of them is supposed to be for the swap shop. The other one is supposed to be for storing styrofoam.
Oh, we never
Not in
had
the
that.
special
Those
container.
swap shops, there were two swap shops for swap shops. Now you're changing it because those were regular swap shops.
No, there was only one for one swap shop, like in the traditional means. The second one, like Roger just said, we just had a meeting. We asked Dan and we confirmed this with him yesterday.
Well,
the styrofoam should go in the second swap shop.
Well, if that's what you want to use it for, yes. But right now, in the second swap shop, there's a lot of other stuff in there, like bicycles and all kinds of things that people brought. Okay? So those two were put there for the reason of having more room for the swap shop because we had a lot of stuff coming in. Now, if you're going to limit it, that limits the swap shop. So I think, and the container itself that we had before, that's how we were shipping out the styrofoam in the container. They would pick it up. But what happened to the container? We paid $1,000 for it. And I don't think that container rolled away by itself.
No.
So somebody's responsible for that container. And if they sold it, fine. Let's get our $1,000 back.
I don't think we sold it. I think it may be somewhere in the property. So
might be somewhere. Well,
somewhere in the property.
Find out for sure.
All right.
And can you please report on it? Okay. All right. Let's move on to some other topic then. Okay. Fireworks. We had our fireworks. It was
I think so.
A lot of people. Very crowded. Pretty good.
Just pretty good?
Pretty good. I thought it was kind of short. And I don't know what happened at the end because everybody was leaving and then they threw up some more fireworks.
Surprise encore, Paul.
Oh, surprise encore.
I think those are the ones that haven't went off. Yeah.
Yeah, the ones that didn't go off. Okay. But the reason I'm bringing up fireworks is, of course, the funding for 2025. And I'd like to know when we're going to write a letter asking for donations for the fireworks from the banks and our businesses. And we only have 6 months to get the amount of money that we need in order to pay for it, because I understand we have to do the contract in January with the fireworks. That's what we did last time, I believe. I don't know if it changed this year.
I think we have to do the contract now, if I understand.
Oh, really?
Right. So, Paul, to answer your question, the money's appropriated in the budget. If we're able to raise funds towards that specific purpose to offset that expense, that's great. That's icing on the cake. I will speak as the mayor. As long as I'm sitting here, I will advocate for fireworks every single year, whether we pay for them in full out of the budget or we're able to raise money for or beyond what our needs are. It's absolutely advantageous for us to try and get sponsorships. I think that we're trying to re-envision how that event really works going forward, and it's something that could be very appealing for sponsors to help get on board with financing part of it.
Exactly.
So I would say stay tuned on that one. We're going to get to work on it. But to answer your question, even if we entered into the contract now, the money is appropriated in the budget. Our goal would be to help raise funds to offset that expenditure,
Exactly.
which would leave it as part of surplus at that point.
Thank you. Okay, the other last items I think I have here is on the appellate court date for 66 Kinderkamack Road. Did we receive a date for the final appeal?
I don't know, but we typically do not discuss litigation in public session.
It's not. I just want to know the date, and the reason I want to know the date is so that I can attend. Because I attended last time on phone, and I had a special number to hear it, and that's what I want to do again because it involves where I live in my neighborhood.
We will find out.
And if there has been any other conversation with the people that wanted to build there in the boroughs, with the borough on the site, has they proposed anything else, or has there been any conversation at all or contact from them?
I don't believe anything has changed.
Okay, so it's a no. There hasn't been any contact.
Again, to the best of my belief, nothing has changed since the last time we spoke about this. We have received no proposals before us. We've had no substantive conversations about anything that affects that. The lawyers are dealing with the lawsuit and what's required.
Thank you very much
process.
for your patience.
Thank you, Paul. Any other member of the public wish to speak on non-agenda items?
Motion to close.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I will now open the...
I do.
Oh, motion to reopen.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good evening. Ori Katzen, Laurel Drive. Got a few items, not as long as there, hopefully. Basically, questions about some, I would say, bugs that can be corrected. The first one is, I know this is the second time this calendar has been here in this public. This calendar has been issued, I understand, in January. I love the message, Mayor Cott, that you posted in. I love the drawing of our, and a thank you for our soldiers and veterans. July 4th. Town calendar on July 4th. I do have on the items here, basically it says parade, borough offices, and library closed. Going to the website for this year for July 4th, I'm not sure who is in charge here of the website, but it needs to be updated because there were, just in my neighborhood, about 100 confused residents. I drove around on July 3rd, right after the fireworks, and noticed there's a lot of garbage cans and yard waste cans, grass clippings, out on the street. I checked the calendar. The calendar shows that grass pickup and garbage, townwide garbage pickup, is on for Thursday, the 4th of July. Now, common sense says that it should not. However, if we resident, and now we are in the 21st century, and we should rely on the digital information that's coming, we the resident need to rely on the website to be accurate. So if it says on the website that the town hall is closed, but it says that there's a townwide garbage and a townwide grass clipping pickup, someone should either cancel it, and I know it can be accessed 24 hours, or there should be a garbage pickup the following day. Because just in my neighborhood, 100 confused residents got their stuff out. And one other thing, I also took out on the 3rd of July. I happened to do some tree trimmings the Friday before. So now I had to keep my yard waste, my grass clipping for a full 2 weeks in the garbage container in this heat and you know how it smells when you have a grass clipping for 13 days sitting in the grass can. I mowed my lawn twice in those 2 weeks. So if it cancels, there should be, I'm not sure if there's a way to coordinate that with the company that picks up, but to have 2 full weeks with no grass clipping pickups in this heat is, I would say, a little unacceptable because of the smell that it smells. I understand as far as garbage, it's also in this heat, saving it from Monday, the last Monday in June until the first Monday in July. That's a whole week in this summer. The garbage smells too. But I just happen to have 7 buckets of grass clipping and tree trimmings and yard waste that happen to be 13 days out without pickup. So if someone here is in charge of the website, I believe that they should go again. They don't have to do it on a monthly basis, but just as holidays approach, or if there's a day that there is no pickup, the website should be the most accurate information, because in the past it happens that typos happen on this calendar. No one here is in charge of that. Okay.
It's the clerk's office. So we will work with the clerk on the calendar. They produce the calendar. The website is something we're continually working on. And you're right, we looked, it is unacceptable that that's listed as being collected. However, I will say that perhaps we need to, with regard to rubbish collection, recycling, and vegetative waste, promote our Recycle Coach app better, because that has the most up-to-date information with regard to pickups. To change the website, again, unacceptable that we have that conflict. But again, the DPW updates the Recycle Coach app that most people can sign up for. It's free. It gives you reminders. This is tomorrow, this is Thursday, this is Friday, what have you. I think we should do a better job of promoting that as the source of information for pickup. But I will address this with the administrator and the clerk when she returns with regard to website and the calendar.
Okay. And Mayor, it should be noted that Recycle Coach also said that there would be grass pickup on the 4th of July. So.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. Second bug that needs to be corrected in the system is I am receiving on my phone, and I'm sure most of you are receiving text alert from the city of Oradell. Okay, because I believe I signed with a Nixle system in the beginning, and then they switched to another system. I signed up with all of them, and now I am receiving from 3 different phone numbers messages. Sometimes there will be a duplicate messages coming in from 2 different sources, and sometimes there will be only one. But I just want to point out to a situation that happened in the past week, that one of the alert system alerted Oradell resident to a missing teenage girl walking with a poodle dog and have not seen for a few hours. Someone obviously sent that message from one phone number. About 2 hours later, another message came from the Oradell system from the very same number saying that that alert is still going on. If any resident has seen that, to report. I did not receive any other message on my phone that has not been canceled. And I was still at work, and all of a sudden, my wife is notifying my rest of my family that the girl has been found. I called my wife. I said, how did you know that she was found? They said, I received a text from Oradell. So my wife signed up and receives texts from the city of Oradell on a different phone number that I don't get. So if there were 2 messages reported on one alert system, why the cancellation of that alert did not report on the exact same number? Because as far as I knew, my phone was telling me the girl has not been found yet. My wife had to notify me because she received a message from a different number. How does that happen, Mayor?
Just to comment, you may want to check in and sign into your Oradell alert online and check to be sure that you have one number that is relevant there. And if not, you may want to send a text to the provider of the service just to be sure against those other two numbers, just in case that there's something stuck in the system, if you will, that is giving you that triplicate of messages.
I'm signed on 3 different platforms to receive messages from Oradell, and I have 3 different numbers that the messages are coming from. Yet I did not receive that one. My wife has a different phone number that she got the cancellation. So what I'm saying for common sense, Councilman staff, is that I would like to know how come it happens that one number reports to me that the girl is missing. The same number reports to me 2 hours later that the alert is still going on and she's still missing. And that same number never reported to me that the girl was found. That means in case of emergency, I may not be aware.
So the Oradell alert system is authorized by the Office of Emergency Management, which is Joe Godhealth. The police also have access to it. The only thing I can think, Ori, is that the police may have sent out those 2 initial messages that the girl was in search of the girl, and Joe may have sent out that 3rd one. There is a glitch in the system, which means that what we may need to do offline with you is just erase you out of the system and have you reload in. But all I can think is there are multiple people that have access to that one system. That's the only thing I can think.
We'll talk to the OEM coordinator who oversees the system. I think the system randomizes numbers. It does not come from the same number.
That could be right.
Alerts do not come from the same number every time. They come from different numbers. I don't know why that is. It's just the way the system works.
Okay, but I'm here to report on that glitch.
Right.
I understand. And we're going to speak to him about it. But I'm also going to ask a follow-up. You said that you didn't receive the update that she was located. You were at work or you were in town? Because it's set geographically to your location, which is why you sometimes may get alerts from other towns, depending upon where you are. There's a setting in there that you need to check that says you only want it from.
I always receive, even when I'm overseas, I always receive these alerts to my phone number. Wherever I am, I'm receiving from 3 different phone numbers. All I'm saying in this particular incident, what I wanted to bring to your attention, just like Councilman Gallo was saying, that the same number reported 2 alerts, but did not report the green light.
We'll find out. I got all 3 from the same number that the alert went out from. I just checked. So we'll have to find out what's going on and get a report back from the OEM coordinator.
Yes, and it will obviously be good that there will be only one system with one number, because obviously we all get spam, and we all basically do, instead of we used to call blacklist of spam numbers, we do now whitelist. That means only those numbers that we recognize and are in a contact list the message can be received. So I want to have a whitelist, and I don't want to receive messages from Oradell on 3 or 4 different numbers, if possible. If possible.
We'll take a look into it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. The third things that I need to talk about, and if I do exceed my 5 minutes, I apologize. Okay. And I heard you all got the letters from Dave Salinas that he was asking to name something after his son, Sergeant David Salinas, who died a year and a half ago. I do communicate with Dave Salinas, but not on this topic. As far as this topic, he gave me the green light for my initiative that this is the 3rd time I'm asking the mayor, the council to consider that, the one from 2023 and now the one earlier this year before Memorial Day, and today is the third time. So my initiative has to do with naming the Oradell 5K something in Oradell. It doesn't have to be the whole 5K race. It could be the fun run. It could be the way I texted to Dave Salinas, is maybe the route of the race, which begins very close to the Salinas residence, okay, starts at on Prospect Avenue, goes right in front of OPS, which David attended, goes around town, and goes right by Riverdale High School, where Dave Salinas graduated from. So that route could be named after. I am not that creative to decide, and I don't want to have the final decision. It's up to the fire department, the OKF, but I am asking the council and the mayor to please put the pressure on the fire department and the OKF to name the Oradell 5K or an element of that 5K after Sergeant Salinas. And you are all were elected by our great residents here in town. And what I did on July 3rd, just before, an hour and a half before the fireworks, I had my signing sheet, and I collected signatures. I collected in an hour and a half before the fireworks, another hour and a half before and after the parade, and another hour during the beer garden. I've collected signatures, and anyone wishes can have copies of these. Democrats, Republicans, young and old, all of them are over 18. All of them are Oradell residents, and I have name, street, and signature. And I let someone take a look at this list. They told me, oh, there's Republicans, there's Democrats. Oh, I know these people. I know they're a long time. I know a lot of those. These are the people, and I had to speak about 5 to 10 minutes with each one of them. So the task of collecting this signature was by itself not an easy thing. But this is the will of the resident of Oradell. They want, and most of them said one phrase, no-brainer. They told me it's a no-brainer. Your initiative is a no-brainer. It should be approved by the OKF, by the fire department, and I understand you guys are not making decisions for them, but you have the power of the purse and you have the power of the pressure. So I'm here for the third time, and I'm asking, if you guys want another 1,000 signatures, I'll get them, because I'm on a mission, and I'll get them. Because if in 4 hours I got 150 signatures, I can do that. And with the help of Councilman Tasjian, if he's going to let me post a Facebook poll, what it's called, on the Oradell residents, because I understand that's not a political issue. So, Councilman Tasjian, if you're willing to let me post a Facebook poll to see the will of the Oradell residents, if they agree to name the race in their town after David Salinas.
I have no problem with that.
You have no problem. Thank you so much. That's appreciated by me. So, again, the decision is up to you. What do you want to do? How you want to act? I am not going to stop and do that until there is a proper, let's put it this way, a proper mention of his name on something that will not get forgotten and will be seen more often by the town, because I think that just his service to our country at this day and age, where most young people choose a career, choose to make money, or choose to be on their, as some politicians call it, the stupid machine. This guy put everything aside and volunteered to protect us all. And as someone who served and as someone who lost friends, and memorize them in any way possible. I am asking you to do whatever in your power and whatever the will of the resident of Oradell is showing here, and do something and name the Oradell 5K after Sergeant Salinas. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor.
Excuse me, have you spoken to the OK Foundation?
I spoke to OK Foundation last year. They even asked me to volunteer, which I 2 years ago, actually, I offered to volunteer. I offered to take care of the lights at the basketball court. I got there an electrician. He gave me proposals. I was willing to do whatever I can for the OKF. And last year, when I approached them and said that, I got some excuses that it's not for this forum, but I don't think they'll be proud if I repeat the reasons why not to do it. In person, I can tell you that. And then they told me that they don't need my help and they don't need to volunteer. They were so against this, and they were so... I said, look, I only made a suggestion, and I think this will be the proper things to do for this town. And I saw the objection. I got nasty text messages, which I can share with you if you want. I said, it's like resident of this town said, no-brainer. What are you so against? So I chose a different path to come over here and spread it along town residents. Hopefully, we'll do it soon on Facebook. And this way, we can get them the pressure instead of direct communication, do it indirectly.
I admire your passion. I thank you for telling me your story, and we will take it into consideration.
Thank you.
Motion to close.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Wait, Eileen. Oh, no.
Eileen, are you agenda or non-agenda?
This was agenda,
This was non-agenda.
then I'm non-agenda.
We were still on agenda. Wasn't this agenda?
This is non-agenda items.
No, oh, non-agenda.
Correct.
That means you can, on anything. She just got confused, that's why.
It's just a quick question, and maybe it's apparent to everybody but me. What is the OK Foundation?
The Oradell Kids Foundation.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you for answering.
Thank you. Motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now a motion to open for public comment on the consent agenda only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, is now open for consent agenda.
Okay, Paul Atsunis. I'd like to speak about this 24-190 resolution addressing the constitutionality of affordable housing and affordable housing mandates. I think it's a good thing to pass this. It's very good to pass it. But I want to add my 2 cents in here, and I think that we should have something in that resolution to say that when we're mandating something, when the state mandates something, that they also should provide the funds for the infrastructure and changes to accommodate a large increase in our population density. It increases the density of our town, and it's going to cost us money to do things. And I think that, I don't know if it's in that resolution or in that law that they're going to do. I mean, if you can tell us more about what the law says or what they're trying to do, I'd appreciate that. But in my opinion, mandates from the government should not exist as mandates. This is a free country. You don't have to follow everything the government tells you, you know, as far as certain things. I mean, certain things, you probably, yes, but not everything. for example, COVID. Well, they lied to us about COVID. They lied to us and how we were supposed to, what we were supposed to do, and then they kept changing their things. Now everything is coming out now. Everything's coming out with all these investigations and things. So that's one of the reasons that I'm opposed to mandates, because of that particular thing that happened there. But as far as this 2490, I think we very well should do this, and it's about time that we start fighting for our town and not having to listen to whatever they preach down from the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Motion to close public comments?
Second.
Anyone else from the public wish to comment on agenda items? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Thank you. Okay. Melissa, can you please read the correspondence into the record?
Sure. Number one, we have a letter from Gavin Rue regarding an Eagle Scout project. We also have a letter received from the New Jersey DCA regarding an award of an American Rescue Plan firefighter grant of $20,000.
Okay, so we're a little out of sorts here because I should have brought this up under new business, but Mr. Rue, for his Eagle project, is proposing to assist the fire department by building props for them to drill on, and is seeking the endorsement of the council for his Eagle project. Anybody have any questions, concerns, or would you be willing to, as a body, endorse Mr. Rue's Eagle project to assist the fire department?
This is for training, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Is he going to come and present, or is the letter his presentation?
I'm pretty sure the letter was his presentation, because this is a pretty cut and dry topic.
I know part of the experience is actually coming in front of the mayor and council and presenting your project. I think that's kind of like a rite of passage.
If that's what the council wishes he does, I will have the administrator write him back.
I think it's a box tick for the that he has to present it to the public in the project itself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the letter suffices, so I would be supportive of moving forward. I don't think he has to come in person, but I'll yield to whatever the council wants to do.
You don't think he has to come in person? Or you
No,
think he does?
he took the time to write the letter. We understand what the project is, so I'm supportive based upon what I read in the letter.
Supportive either way. I just want to make sure he doesn't trip up in something that he was supposed to come and he doesn't come. So can we just check just to be sure? Melissa, thank you.
One more comment. I think, no questions asked, I'm supportive of the program, but I think as an experience, coming in front of speaking to people in public is a great skill, and I think in many cases it's the start of something they'll do for their life and career. I think it's just a great experience. Not necessary for the approval, but I just really feel like it's a good experience.
So if I could suggest, perhaps we support his project to work and assist the fire department in this regard, but he come to the council at a later time to present to us what his project turned out to be in terms of the devices that he was able to create for the fire department to use.
Absolutely okay with that.
That's fine.
Okay.
I think it's a wonderful solution.
And just mention, we've received this $20,000 grant from NJDCA for the fire department to use in acquiring personal protective equipment such as turnout gear. Next item is the approval and the adoption of minutes. I'm going to go meeting by meeting quick because I know there are people that have been absent meetings, so we can try and do this orderly, and I will call for a motion, a second, and a roll call for each meeting. So if somebody would be kind enough to start that process off, we can zip through this.
Motion for March 2nd approval?
12.
Second.
Hold on.
March 12. Sorry, March 12.
Second.
We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Carnival,
Yes.
Mr. Staff,
Yes, if I was present.
Mr. Tajian,
Yes.
Mr. Kern,
Yes.
Mr. Gallo,
Yes.
Ms. Hara.
I abstain. I wasn't here.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of March 26th.
So moved.
Second.
We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Carnaval?
Yes.
Mr. Staff?
Yes.
Mr. Tajian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Mr. Gullo?
Yes.
Ms. Hara?
I abstain. I wasn't there.
Okay, thank you. We look for a motion and a second for the minutes of the meeting of April 9th.
So moved.
Second.
We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Carnaval?
Yes.
Mr. Staff?
Yes.
Mr. Tajian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Mr. Gullo?
Yes.
Ms. Hara?
I abstain.
Thank you. And a motion and a second to approve the minutes for the meeting of April 30th.
So moved.
Second.
We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Carnaval?
Yes.
Mr. Staff?
Yes.
Mr. Tajian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Mr. Gullo?
Yes.
Ms. Hara?
I abstain.
Thank you. And a motion and a second for the meeting of May 14th.
So moved.
Second.
We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Carnaval?
Yes.
Mr. Staff?
Abstain.
Mr. Tajian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Gullo?
Yes.
Ms. Hara?
Yes.
Thank you. A motion and a second for the meeting of May 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Carnaval?
Yes.
Mr. Staff?
Yes.
Mr. Tajian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Mr. Gullo?
Yes.
Ms. Hara?
Yes.
Thank you. Take a motion and a second to approve the minutes for the meeting of May 28th.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Carnaval?
Yes.
Mr. Staff?
Yes.
Mr. Tajian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Mr. Gullo?
Yes.
Ms. Hara?
Yes.
Thank you. And I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve the minutes of June 11th.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Carnaval?
Abstain.
Mr. Staff?
Abstain.
Mr. Tajian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Mr. Gullo?
Yes.
Ms. Hara?
Yes.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion finally to approve the minutes for the meeting of June 25th.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Carnaval?
Yes.
Mr. Staff?
Yes.
Mr. Tajian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Abstain.
Mr. Gullo?
Yes.
Ms. Hara?
Yes.
Okay, Melissa, thank you for getting us all caught up there in the adoption of minutes being current.
Melissa, just for note, I'm sure that there may be a couple people that you voted yes or whatever. It'll be
Yes.
adjusted accordingly
Yes.
based on that.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, what was that correction?
That if somebody voted yes and they weren't there, she would change it.
Oh.
Post.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's recorded in the minutes, too.
Yes.
so.
Okay. Any question on any item on the consent agenda, or does a member of the council wish to pull an item for further discussion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Melissa, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Carnaval?
Yes.
Mr. Staff?
Yes.
Mr. Tajian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Mr. Gullo?
Yes.
Ms. Hara?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Before we get to ordinance, I'm going to interject here. Again, we're a little out of order on the agenda, but the monthly reports seem to have been dropped from this agenda. So we'll start off with my report. I want to start by thanking all of the staff and volunteers that were involved with our fireworks on July 3rd and the parade on the 4th. Tremendous showing for the fireworks on the 3rd. I was extremely impressed to see how many people were out to see Oradell's fireworks show. I, as many others, were also surprised at the number of encores post the fireworks show, as a number of the cells failed to detonate when fired. But that doesn't happen without the dedication and time of a lot of our volunteers, our special events committee, Tina Duddy in particular from the staff, but everybody really made a contribution to this. We just had a debrief meeting today to learn from this year's event and how to apply lessons going forward to continue to make improvements and make it a special time. So I want to thank everybody involved for that. We talked about road paving, which I brought up a couple of times in the past. I'm happy to see that we're underway with getting ready to start the concrete repairs and get the north end of town paved, north of Soldier Hill Road. We talked about Hesley Rivera. I am going to be brief in my report tonight because of the hour, but yeah, I'm going to stop at the thanks. It's good enough for me. Councilman Carnaval, Council President Carnaval.
Thank you, Mayor.
Ordinance and Administration.
The Administration Committee, I just found out tonight, it will be meeting this coming Wednesday to review the proposed salary increases for the non-union employees, and we'll report on the findings coming out of that meeting to the broader council. For ordinance, we have 2 ordinances that are up for final adoption. Ordinance number 24-8, ready for final reading.
Will the Borough Clerk read ordinance number 24-8 by title only?
An ordinance amending Chapter 102 of the Borough of Oradell Code pertaining to background checks.
Has ordinance number 24-8 been published in full, posted on the bulletin board, and made available to members of the general public?
Yes.
Is there any member of the general public who wishes to be heard concerning this ordinance? Is there any member of the council who wishes to discuss this ordinance further?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that ordinance number 24-8 be passed on final reading and published in the Bergen Record on Monday, July 22nd, 2024.
Second.
Melissa, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Carnival?
Yes.
Mr. Staff?
Yes.
Mr. Tajian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Mr. Gullo?
Yes.
Ms. Herrick?
Yes.
Mayor, ordinance number 24-9 is ready for final reading.
Will the Borough Clerk read ordinance number 24-9 by title only?
A bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Borough of Oradell in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $2,970,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $2,828,560 bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof.
Has ordinance number 24-9 been published in full, posted on the bulletin board, and made available to members of the general public?
Yes.
Is there any member of the general public who wishes to be heard concerning this ordinance? Is there any member of the council who wishes to discuss this ordinance further?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that ordinance number 24-9 be passed on final reading and published in the Bergen Record on Monday, July 22nd, 2024.
Second.
We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Carnival?
Yes.
Mr. Staff?
Yes.
Mr. Tajian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Mr. Gullo?
Yes.
Ms. Herrick?
Yes.
Thank you.
That is all of our ordinance work for tonight. So real quickly, Mayor, the Planning Board did not meet in July because, once again, there were no applications to be heard. The next meeting of the Planning Board is scheduled for Tuesday, August 6th at 7:30 p.m. Last evening's Zoning Board meeting ended up being canceled due to the fact that the meeting was listed incorrectly on the borough's website. The 3 applications that were to be heard last night will be carried over to the August meeting. The next meeting in August is scheduled for Monday, August 19th at 7:30 p.m. The Historical Committee is scheduled to meet on Monday, July 29th at 7:30 in the multipurpose room here on the 2nd floor of Borough Hall. I will provide a report at our August meeting. And lastly, I just wanted to share my thoughts regarding the first of the concert series that was last Thursday, the Peach Project. There was a great turnout, but I really believe that we should do more advertising and promotion because these are really great events with great groups that are very, very talented. One of the attendees did ask me if there are going to be any food trucks at any of the remaining 4 concerts, so I just wanted to throw that out there. But I do want to thank everyone involved for putting together this year's summer concert series, as they are really great events, and I encourage all of our residents to come out and enjoy these talented musical groups. And that's my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. Councilman Staff, Emergency Management, Board of Health and Public Safety.
Thank you, Mayor. The Public Safety Committee met yesterday. This year we've added time for our OEM coordinator, Joe Godhealth, to share his thoughts and bring success and improvements to the committee. We talked about the 2 missing juvenile instances and are happy to report, as most people know already, that both resulted in successful outcomes. The committee will review ways to organize and communicate effectively and purposefully to optimize all community human and electronic resources for similar situations. We discussed the 4th of July events, fireworks, and parade, and as the mayor mentioned, thank you to Oradell Police, Fire, DPW, OEM for their excellent organization and execution of the events. No issues were to report, and all went delightfully boring, as I like to say, from an emergency response perspective. The Board of Health does not meet in July and August. However, spotted lanternfly nymphs are circulating again, so if you see one, I do ask, please kill it. Also, there have been an increase in dead birds noticed around town, likely from the heat and low rainfall. Again, if you notice one, please do not touch it, but collect it with a shovel, place it in a trash bag, and promptly seal it and discard it. Wash your hands immediately thereafter. Lastly, when the board meets in September, we'll have the full dates for the flu shots. And that concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. I did want to add one thing, and I'll mention it's pertinent to your report. I wanted to thank all of our police officers and firefighters and residents, concerned residents who shared their observations regarding the 2 cases where we had a missing juvenile within the past 2 weeks. Due to people being aware and reporting things that they saw, and due to the expeditious response of our police and fire departments, both situations were resolved very quickly, and that is the best outcome we can always hope for in a situation like this. I've asked councilman staff and the Public Safety Committee to work with our emergency services to further some standard operating guidelines on how these situations unfold, so that we can have a way to receive appropriately at the emergency service level information from the public, which may be valuable, and disseminate that to our responders so that they can make the best use of resources. So, Michael, thank you to all of our responders for their involvement in those 2 situations.
Yep, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Library, Environmental, Economic Development, Councilman Tashin.
So I think I've given my library report update, trying to keep with the speed. Regarding environmental, just a date of note, October 5th will be the sweep of the river that is done every year with River Edge. And there was some discussion about the possibility of replacing the wreaths and doing a program where somebody can sponsor the purchase of the lighted wreaths in town, because they are, sorry. That's my southern thing.
Reeds.
That's my pseudo-southern accent. So we're looking into a program, the lighted wreaths.
It's very hard to hear.
I have the.
I think it's the
mic on.
microphones, or
It's on. I have it on. So
just we're testing new microphones tonight. So just for the clarity, I apologize for any issues.
I will move it a little closer.
So the feedback is good. We can work on this for the next time.
Thank you.
So more to come on that, but I think it would be a great program because, as we know, they've probably exceeded their lifespan. And so we're going to look at some options and see if we can run some sort of a program where people and or families or corporations can sponsor the purchase of one so that we can replace them through the town. And that is my report, Mayor. Mr.
Thank
Mayor.
you, Councilman Tashin. Finance and DPW, Councilman Kern.
Mayor, should we hear from our CFO first with regards to the capital budget, since she's in attendance today?
Katie, do you have anything you would like to?
I have some slides. I mean, the ordinance has been
It's already been approved.
Yeah, so.
Up to you.
I can go through it quickly.
Why don't you go through it quickly, just so everybody has a refresher on the capital program.
I think my laptop went to sleep, so let me just.
We're working on it, Paul.
Hello? Okay. How do I get this?
Move your cursor.
The project.
We'll pull that out.
Pull this out?
Put it into yours. Okay.
Does the other laptop have to be open? This one? I don't believe so. This is the next.
Okay, so why we may be working out some technical difficulties, John, why don't you go through the rest of your report?
All right. So tonight we had adopted the capital budget appropriating $2.9 million in authorizing bonds. The numbers compared to roughly $2 million in last year's bond requests. The bond will help us finance the various capital projects discussed here tonight. I'd like to thank our CFO, Katie, for working diligently on this process, as well as our finance department as a whole, administration, clerk's department, bond counsel, and this sort of marks the end of our fiscal year budget process. So that's something to celebrate. In other news from the finance department is that our previous auditor, Wilcox, is finishing up their audit for the previous fiscal year. We should receive documents and an opinion for the audit shortly. Another item is an update on our tax appeals reserve. We had just finished paying off a judgment from 2022 with roughly a $0.5 million payment. And made a new payment on a new judgment for around $124,000, which brings the reserve balance to for tax appeals around $118K. The CFO notified me that our tax assessor, Associated Appraisal Group, is going to conduct reassessments in town for the next few months. We have a 5-year contract with them, and 2024 marks the 4th year of our contract. They plan on inspecting 20% of properties in Oradell every year, but overall they value the properties every year as well, regardless of the inspection. And owners will be notified by mail and have an opportunity to contact them for questions and contest assessment values as well. Lastly, the estimated bills went out recently for residents for this quarter. Payment is due August 1st with no penalties paid by August 12th for finance. Ready, Katie, for? Okay.
Yes, yes. All right. I'm going to go through it quickly. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for adopting the ordinance 24-9 for the borrowing of the 2024 capital projects. I just wanted to go through quickly the borrowing is proposed for the following projects. Out of that, that 2.9 million, we have 1.1 million that's earmarked for road paving between the local road paving program and the NJDOT road paving program. We have earmarked for $575,000 for a purchase of a new fire engine, $100,000 for fire department's boat trailer and utility vehicle. Another $100,000 for DPW work truck and leaf loading tank bucket. $161,500 for DPW radios and purchase of some field equipment. We also have some projects that earmarked for the DPAC field, such as the trail, the lighting system upgrade. We also have $39,000 for tennis and pickleball court repair and upgrade. And then the final item on the list is for professional soft costs. That total, the $2,970,000, less the required down payment of $141,440. The ordinance is for $2,828,560. The 5% down payment we have in our adopted 2024 budget. We have adopted $150,000 of down payment, and out of that $150,000, we're using $141,440 for this bond ordinance. Just to go over just a summary of our annual debt, our gross debt at the end of 2023. So between our notes, our short-term borrowing, our long-term permanent bond, any loans, New Jersey infrastructure loans, our gross debt, our net debt was $17,878,720 at the end of 2023. And our net debt ratio at the end of 2023 was 0.88%. And this is lower. So based on the local bond law, the debt limitation on the borrowing for the municipalities is 3.5%. We're way below the 3.5% of debt limitation. To include our new debt ratio, it's going to be 0.98% with this new bond ordinance, this new borrowing, and it's a 0.1% increase from last year. This slide shows that what we have in our 2024 municipal budget for our debt service payment. We have 1.5 million. We have 2.1 million of debt service payments in our 2024 budget, and that's equivalent to 10.73%. And that is probably the fourth biggest category in our municipal budget, besides salaries and wages, other expenses, medical insurance. This is our fourth largest expense in our municipal budget, and that shows that we're aggressively paying down our debt over the years. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Katie. Does anybody in the council have any questions of Ms. Chen? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Katie.
John, anything further?
Yeah, continue with DPW.
Okay.
So first, I guess I'd like to defer to our engineer. I know we talked about curbing and PSE&G. Anything else, Dave, that you have?
Sure. Just to update everybody on the sewer repairs. The contractor was in last week. They were able to replace the section of pipe that's been cracked over on Marginal Road, or off of Marginal Road. They're there this week televising and cleaning the line and getting final measurements, and then they'll be, sorry, not used to the little button. All right, let me start over in case everyone missed me, sorry. So Marginal Road sewer repair, the work is ongoing as we speak. Last week, the contractor was in the township. They were able to replace the section of pipe that had been damaged or broken. That was successfully completed. They're in there this week doing the televising and cleaning of the sewer line, as well as getting final measurements to order the pipe lining material. Once the measurements have been obtained, they're going to order the material, which we anticipate will take them about 3 to 4 weeks to get the material. They'll be back, and it'll be about a 16 to 18 hour day for them to get everything in place and fully functional, and then everything will be completed as far as the repairs there. So things are going as smoothly as they can. So
thank you.
Yep, that's all.
Dave, quick question. So are they going from the manhole on the Milford Avenue to the downstream manhole across from the DPW?
They're going from New Milford to the manhole, yes.
Okay.
Yep, so it's about 600 and a little over 600 feet of the pipe is getting lined.
Okay. And I would presume they'd have to clean again before they place the liner and bypass?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Sure, no problem.
So I reached out to our superintendent and Paul to answer your question. The styrofoam is, still on our property, and it's being used for its intended purposes of evacuation and equipment storage.
You mean the container?
The container, yes. Yeah. So the BPW met on July 15th. We already discussed the library. Next item was I received notice that there will be an August bid for opening the trash collection. I know we were talking about that for a while. I'm glad that that's underway, just to give an update to that. Next item, I received updates from the department that they're preparing for the fall season, and so far okay with both manpower and equipment to prepare them for the leaf removal season. And just a reminder that the leaf removal season will start 2 weeks later. to be more in line with the needs of the borough and how fall really, with later times as the leaves come later and later in fall, later and later in the season, each and every year. Moving on, we also discussed the ability to work hand in hand with our communications department to put out some public service announcement campaigns, which will encourage our residents to report minor road repairs so we can ensure that the roads are prepared for the fall and winter season. Just to clarify, we won't be asking the residents to report the full road repairs, just detailed reports about potholes, sinkholes, and cracks, near their streets or wherever it is in town that can easily be filled, so that during the winter season we're all prepared and everything is ready to go and our infrastructure is all shored up. Lastly, I'd like to thank the DPW team for their hard work in preparing the borough for summer events, including the fireworks night, July 4th parade, and the summer concert series that's underway. That's all I have now.
Thank you, John. Technology, Communications, Recreation, Councilman Gullo.
Thanks, Mayor. The Technology and Communications Committee did not meet, or is not meeting this month. We hope to reconvene next month to discuss a number of things, but again, we'll have an update at next month's meeting. I concur with the rest of the council in terms of the successful July 3rd and July 4th events. Thank you to all council members, borough volunteers, the DPW, the police department, and the fire department. Special events did meet last Thursday, the 11th, to discuss Family Fun Day, which is scheduled for Sunday, September 22nd. More details to follow. On June 27th, the seniors hosted a bingo lunch hour. All who attended had a great time. More events to be planned for August. For recreation, we did have a short meeting in July. The mayor did attend, and we had some good discussions about capital projects in the field. To that matter, we are going to be hosting, hopefully next month, an open house for all the sport league presidents to talk about some of their wish lists in terms of the fields and the facilities in town. So more to come at next month's meeting, and that completes my report.
Thank you, Councilman Gullo. Municipal Drug Alliance, OPTV, stigma-free, Councilwoman Harrer.
Yes, thank you. First, I would like to congratulate OPTV. They did an amazing job of covering the 4th of July, and they made available at 7 o'clock on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of that weekend the parade for anybody who might have missed it. And I got a lot of comments from people saying how much they enjoyed that. So congratulations, OPTV. You continue to uphold our town and our events, and it's quite wonderful. The Municipal Drug Alliance, I have nothing to report particularly, but they want to remind you to take your clothing and shoes to the drop-offs at the DPW Riverdale High School in the back lot by the field house, and a third one at the Care One facilities. We did not meet this month with the Stigma-Free Task Force. I was proud to wear their Fighting Stigma scarf that they gave to me when I went to the Red Bull soccer game at the 4th of July parade, and I was hoping it might have reminded a few people that we're fighting stigma. Oradell for All is also reorganizing, and we haven't had a meeting yet. That's my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Harrer. Administrator's report.
I'd like to just briefly talk about Marginal Road. That was a very significant infrastructure project, maybe one of the more important ones the borough has done in the recent past. It took the cooperation on our own staff of the police, the DPW. The job could not have been completed without the participation of the borough engineer. And we had a player of which we have no control over, that's New Jersey Transit. They act under the rules of the Federal Railroad Administration. As you might imagine, there are a lot of safety issues that are involved. I was actually at the site. It's hard to believe how many trains do pass, even during a short period of time. So we had to deal with the bureaucracy of New Jersey Transit. thanks to the dedication of the engineer, we've made it. I would say the project is 90% complete, and no one thinks about these projects unless they break. Now, I know it broke about 2 years ago, so nobody thinks about it, but that's one of the main sewer lines in the borough of Oradell. So thank you, Mr. David Atkinson. Thank you to the contractors. Thank you to the police. Thank you, DPW. And actually, thank you, New Jersey Transit. That's my report.
Thank you. Borough Attorney's report, we have anything?
Nothing further to add, Mayor.
Thank you for joining us. Roger, your time in the meeting again. If there's no other business before the council, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Could I just momentarily thank the DPW? I actually meant to say that on my report, Mayor. I'm sorry I didn't do it. But I'm clearing out garages and basements in my house, and I've had a lot of contact with them. I've called them numerous times about how do I recycle this, how do I recycle that. So Oradell should be very proud. They're wonderful staff. They were incredibly helpful. And when I was down there, there were a couple people working in the recycling area, and they also were marvelous. So I just want to thank the DPW. They do a really good job.
Thank you, Maggie. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Margaret Peggy Carnes, welcome to today's Global Connections program.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for the invitation to join you.
I appreciate you being with me today. We've got heady topics to get in today to talk about, and they're very important to people all around the world.